Hey, what's up? This is Brandon Simmons for BrandonSimmons.biz, and this is my weekly segment called Bullheaded. It's just basically a review of the Houston Texans, talking about the topics and issues surrounding the team, as well as the upcoming matchups that they'll have. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and bull rush into the bull rush into the material. This week, I kind of want to touch on a couple of things that are going on the defensive side of the football for the team. Mainly Jadeveon Clowney, linebacker, defensive end, whatever you want to call it, will be making a return. He should be making a return this Sunday against the Dolphins. And also another return, if you will, is Charles James. A lot of people that have watched the Hard Knocks show, the HBO Hard Knocks show from this summer, which featured the Texans, they'll recognize him. I think he was the guy that had the crazy socks or whatever, but he was definitely a fan favorite amongst a lot of Texans nation. So it's great to hear that he's coming back. The Texans actually cut him after the preseason ended, even though he didn't have such a bad preseason. I didn't actually see Hard Knocks, but of course, I watched the Texans preseason games, and I seen him come in a lot of the times with the second and third stringers, and he didn't look too bad. So they cut him after the preseason. Then he went over to Baltimore on their practice squad, and apparently last Saturday, they let him go. So now he's back with the Texans, and actually, working with the actual defensive unit as well as special teams. So it seems like a lot of people are expecting him to make a contribution immediately on that aspect of the game. Going back to the Clowney situation, I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people are probably just kind of frustrated with just how he's been overall in his career so far, being that he is a number one pick. But the way I see it, given that he missed virtually all of last season, due to injuries, I think he hasn't done horrible. In fact, I think essentially this is just his rookie season. Maybe we shouldn't have put the number one pick on him, not to bring back up the quarterback debate or whatever, but maybe it should have went somewhere else. However, what's done is done, and so hopefully, just him returning this Sunday could be a sign of something that's contributing to the good juju, if you will, or the good comings that the team and the fan base is expecting. I mean, on top of these two players returning to essentially reignite the fan base, we had the Dolphins coming up as well as the Titans. Two relatively easy teams this season, so definitely I think things should be turning around for the Texans, hopefully, and hopefully these two guys this will be part of the reason, or part of the ongoing reason that this is happening. Now, without further ado, let me go ahead and get into this Dolphins matchup. So, the Dolphins have, for the most part, sucked this season. Like, there's no going around that. Like, they've pretty much been horrible. They started the season off 1-3. They fired their head coach Joe Philbin, and quite frankly, they're at a point of they were just at a point of frustration. So in comes interim head coach Dan Campbell, and he's already making tons of headlines, not just amongst the Miami Dolphins faithful, but pretty much along the league. During their bye week, he instituted the Oklahoma drill, and for those that don't know what the Oklahoma drill basically is, just a lineman and a running back, lined up against a defensive lineman. I think it might be a linebacker or something like that, but pretty much, the running back is just running through, and lineman's blocking, and they're trying to tackle the running back. It's pretty nice. In terms of football, it's pretty much an ill type of deal. So, with that being said, the main reason he did that, he wanted to reestablish, the physical nature back into the Miami Dolphins. And, it pretty much worked out. Looking at these numbers from their last game, Lamar Miller had 19 rushes for 113 yards and a touchdown. And a touchdown. That is correct. And just trying to get the run game back, with the team because let's face it, nowadays the rules are completely, favoring the offense and passing, but you do need that running game. So, with that being said, it seems that the team has found like a new energy, and that's going to be completely a key thing that the Texans are going to have to worry about. Because even though the Dolphins have never beaten the Texans, I repeat, in the history of the Houston Texans since 2002, the Texans have never, ever lost to the Miami Dolphins. Let that marinate, considering all the bad seasons that we have had. And before this season, when I seen the Dolphins on the schedule, I was like, it might be a tough Dolphins team to be facing this year. Now that was before, the 1-3 start and everything. And then I went back to look at the schedule and I was like, this should be, pretty much piece of cake. But, given that, they got a new head coach and they destroyed the Tennessee Titans last Sunday to the tune of 38-10. It's going to be a pretty interesting game, and especially given the trouble, not so much troubles, but more like issues that we've been having lately with our team, on some parts of the defense, some parts of the offense as well. So definitely, I think the Texans need to just come out like they did against Jacksonville last week. Start off with energy. That's going to be the first thing that they have to do. Now, with that being said, the Dolphins that beat the Tennessee Titans, this is the team that the Texans are going to face. It's kind of a two-part type of team. I think at this moment, the Dolphins are ranked 24th in both offense and defense. And if I'm not mistaken, they are next to last as far as rushing goes. So, given that Arian Foster, he kind of officially returned last Sunday in a win over Jacksonville, I think it's going to be a heavier dosage of him and Chris Polk going up against that Miami Dolphins defensive line unit, which is really kind of been disappointing considering the $100 million that they gave Ndamukong Suh. And so I think if we need to employ a running attack, with both of those guys in there, and just keep wearing that defensive line down. After that, it should open the passing game a little bit. Definitely. One problem is Cecil Shorts will not be playing in this game. I think it was a hamstring or might have been a dislocated shoulder, but yeah, he's been ruled out. In addition to Kareem Jackson, he's been ruled out as well, but I'll get to that later about the defense. Nate Washington, should be returning this Sunday. So Hopkins and Washington, definitely I expect them to do major damage. I think Jalen Strong got in quite a few plays in last Sunday's game, so hopefully he will be in the mix as well. Definitely needed against this Miami Dolphins defense that seemed to have found some. Like I said before, they seem to have found some new energy. On our defensive side of the ball, hopefully Clowney will be able to make his return, and that'll just help us, put the pressure on Tannehill. And not only that, we're gonna need to really step it up against the run and just try to shut down these running backs that have seemed to have been discovered. Like I said, the guy had guy's name? Lamar Miller or whatever. He had 113 yards, last game. So we definitely need to step that up, make sure that doesn't happen or a repeat of that happening. And also make sure that the subsequent running backs behind him aren't coming in and contributing, because it seems like, so far, it just seems like the running game is going to be a pretty big deal. Now, don't sleep on a quarterback. Tannehill had 266 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, those are probably pretty, pedestrian numbers for for today's NFL. But he had an effective 22 of 29. 22 of 29 in his completions and attempts. So, I mean, just missing 7 passes and especially throwing for that low of a pass count, that's that's pretty damaging right there. And I mean, damaging as far as like that can really wear down, a defensive line. That could probably be a lot from screens, just wearing the defensive line down and all that stuff, and also with deep threat passes. So definitely, I think it might be a little bit tough for our secondary, but hopefully, now that we got Charles James, maybe he can get rotated in, maybe in the nickel position or something like that, and just kind of minimize Tannehill's effectiveness in this game. Before this, it really wasn't a lot to worry about as far as like minimizing his effectiveness, but after this game and with this new head coach and everything, things definitely change. So with that being said, just to summarize everything up, our key is just going to have to be running the ball. With the next to nothing run defense, we're just going to have to run the ball to control the clock and just kind of, keep their defense on the field and just to keep this offense off the field. So, keep the Miami Dolphins offense off the field. Yeah, but that's all I have for you today. Check me out. BrandonSimmons.biz. Also, check out the Facebook page, facebook.com/BrandonBlog. That's it. See you guys next week.